All right. Hanging on Air is live. See that? Did you learn to read?
I have learned to read.
Oh, good. Hanging on Air is live. See, there we go. All right.
Have you figured out how to stop screwing that up every time we start?
There's no way to do that. There's no way to do it. Not one way. So, what's up?
Same old.
Careful.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, just start scratching it. Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but yeah, he's being a little bit.
Oh,
But
congratulations! I like it.
thank you. He's a healthy baby boy.
Cool.
No,
How much did he weigh?
100 pounds.
100 pounds?
Very healthy. Penelope's just back there, facing literally anything, and probably looking for something to lick. No.
That's what Ariel's doing too.
Yeah, looking for magazines and toys to lick.
You guys can't see it, but Ariel's right over here licking things.
I am not.
That's true.
I am not licking anything.
So well, you're licking the flavor of the soda that you're drinking.
John?
I just tell it like it is.
Yeah, we keep it like 100% real.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, we don't mince words on this podcast.
John, that's words.
Yeah. Byron's here, Kevin's here, Toaster's here. Look at this.
Hi.
This is a new ad for ginger ale.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Canada Dry.
That's right.
Canada.
Yeah, it's Canadian people.
Cool.
Made from real Canadian men. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right, I'm going to be eating pizza while we do this as well, too. But so,
I decided to have manners tonight and eat before. You gonna high five me? Good for me.
I feel like that high five from me was insincere, because it was. Because you prompted it, and I was not ready.
It was an invitation. It had nothing to do with. I was just asking if you felt like it.
Like high-fiving you?
Yeah.
I didn't, but I did it anyway.
Oh no.
Oh, no. That's insincere.
Yeah, I'm really.
Yeah, you're just
really concerned.
filled with deceit tonight.
Deceit. What have I done deceitful tonight?
You solicited a high
I
five from
didn't
an unwilling party.
What? Solicited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know. I walked right into that
You
one.
did. So mad.
Mm.
Anyway,
I know your weaknesses.
is not wanting to high five somebody. I actually really like high fiving people all the time.
Oh.
So
just
ultimately-
not me.
Just not you.
Mhm.
Just not when I'm not ready.
Mm.
You know, spend my whole life preparing, and then you got me off guard.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot to talk about this evening.
Cool. What
Yeah.
else? What have you got going on this week? How's your week been?
It's been great. Been busy with the store. Business has been good. I'm catching up on so much stuff. It's ludicrous.
Ludicrous.
Yeah, me and
Yeah?
Ludacris been hanging out a lot recently.
Yeah.
I'm on his new album.
Nice.
Yeah. It's been pretty fun rapping with him.
You're featured.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a featured artist.
Ludacris.
On his new album called Jumpin' Through.
Jumping through.
Yep.
That's funny.
I play a young troubled teen named Dope Ass Damien.
Mm. You're soliciting all kinds of things I don't really feel, and I'm not gonna
False
give it.
emotions.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm excited about your lying.
Well, it's because you haven't heard it.
Well, you're lying.
About my lie. What am I lying about?
Ludacris, I know you've never met him.
You know that?
Mhm.
Not even like.
I talk to him every day. I ask him, have you met John? And he says no.
He doesn't want to embarrass you to be like, I've known John way longer than you have.
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, Lucas and I met when I was in 5th grade.
Where did you meet?
On stage.
Okay.
Yep, yeah. So don't try to pull any weird nonsense.
Pulling fast ones left and right.
Yeah, exactly.
None of them have landed successfully.
I know, I don't want to lose my
I
faith in
feel like a fool.
you look foolish right now. People I bet on the podcast are going to discredit anything you have to say now.
Because
Yeah.
I said you've never met Ludacris.
Psychotherapist. Yeah.
I said you've never met Ludacris, so I must be totally full of crap.
Yeah. You should have thought about that before you opened your
I
mouth.
wish I had.
I wish so too.
Oh well.
Oh, well, that's right. That's right. You can't do anything about it now.
Yeah, no, there's no rewind button in life.
No. Morgan pops in and says, I love that I can randomly show up and there is nothing but laughter. Yes. And that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
This is definitely very much a part of this podcast.
We didn't do this last week, right?
We did not know. I was unbelievably tired.
Unbelievably.
You would not believe it.
Like, it's
I couldn't-
unfathomable.
Yeah, like if I told anybody, they would be like, I simply do not believe you.
Oh, he scared me.
This is the animal circus.
This is Larry.
Hi, Larry.
Larry is
He's a guest tonight.
huge jerk.
He is. He's a cutie. He probably wants my pizza. So, but yeah, I mean, like, so nothing like in particular with me has been going on in terms of like anything that I want to discuss on a personal level, but in a sense, on a personal impact level, a week ago, early morning, we received the word that Chris Cornell,
Yeah.
and that was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, a very big subject to talk about because it was not simply just he passed. There was a lot that went into
Yeah.
sort of the underlying story behind it.
You texted me that link at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah, that's part of why I was tired last week. I was up before. But that's one of the first things I saw on Facebook, and immediately I was just like, Michelle needs to see this.
Yeah, I was up. I hadn't seen anything, but I was awake and
Yeah, big news, especially from our generation. You know, you and
Oh,
I
yeah.
coming from a very large part of the grunge music era,
yeah.
and Soundgarden being very influential on definitely our upbringing.
Right. I had talked about. I'd been talking about him several days before that, and talking about my favorite Chris Cornell songs that
Mhm.
were his independent work, apart from I the Slave or Soundgarden. And
Mm-hmm. Temple of the Dog.
yeah, I mean, I was having.
You saw him a couple years back when they were here in town.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was
he's by far my favorite male voice.
yes.
And I mean, there are a couple other male singers that I really appreciate a lot, but he's been my favorite since I was a kid.
He's in maybe my top two. I mean, I'm still a big fan of Mike Patton, but there's something about Chris Cornell that I've simply never heard even come close to being replicated. It was
What is it that? What are you hearing?
there was a way that he could like project, like sort of like a yell, especially when doing like backing vocals.
Yeah.
There was like this kind of like it filled a sort of a void that a song might have with just like this overpowering presence, like a horizon that just existed across the entire song.
Yeah. My sense of him was that if you're in the same room with him
Mhm.
at close distance, you'd
Mhm.
like blow you backwards and you'd smash into the wall.
Like that cool ab in the 80s with you sitting in the chair.
Right.
It was high fidelity.
Well, where that came from was somebody's experience of Chris
was
Cornell,
Chris Cornell.
and they were inspired to make that
That makes sense.
artistic.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I can't remember the word for it when you project in the chest register that high. I can't remember the word. What do you know the word for that when you sing high in your chest register? What's the word for that? I think it's just no, that's not it. I don't remember.
Maybe Morgan might know.
Maybe
I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the musician people.
belting.
Belting?
Belting. Yeah, you know how it's not a slang term, the belting it out thing.
Mhm.
That's actually the yeah. That's singing extremely high in your chest register, which is not easy to do.
I don't think it has to necessarily be high in your chest register.
To belt it?
Just like, and I think it's in your anything in your comfort zone.
Oh, I was reading about it the other day. I mean, particularly interested because of him, and that was the definition that I read. But maybe Ariel's right.
I have no idea. I can't see either way.
I don't know.
I just know Ludacris and I don't do that.
Using your
We
diaphragm.
don't get involved with that.
Using your diaphragm and
No.
your daily birth control pills.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, there's Jason. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, are they okay?
Uh-oh. Yeah, he's just getting off work now.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, it was especially troubling because reading the article initially was just sort of like what happened to Chris Cornell. You know, was it an accident? And they described his death as sudden and unexpected. And, you know, I mean, the dude was early 50s. So it's really hard to say, you know, what could have happened, you know, a lifetime of you know, drug use and, you know, a lot of ups and downs.
Mm.
Who knows, you know, what could have potentially caught up with him. So I wasn't wanting to assume that it was anything drug related right off the bat. And it was to a degree in terms of drug response, drug reaction, I guess would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
In that, the medication that he was on really pushed him in a direction that, you sort of teeter, in a sense. And some medications, everyone had this discussion the other day, some medications will even say, for things to help antidepressant may still cause harmful thoughts.
It gets worse before it gets better.
Right.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the fact that it, like if there's like an 80% chance that it might just get you better, you take the risk, but there's still like a 20% chance that it still might push you the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
It might still have that unintended effect, but nonetheless, you still want to risk something that could make you better. And with his wife, they did like an interview with her. She said she called him on the phone that evening. He had really slurred speech, and he just didn't sound like he was doing well. And after he got off the phone with her, she, I think, requested, some of his like friends or security guards or whatever to go check him out in the room, and they had to break down his hotel room door to get inside and found him hanging with a cord around his neck.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, it's hard because in recent years I hadn't heard of anything about drug abuse. So like you sort of think if that sort of falls off the radar that they're doing good, they're doing fine, you sort of assume in your mind, but you still don't know the story behind somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
In any way.
Well, from what I understand, and of course, I mean, none of us were there with him, so we can speculate and we can be right or wrong, and who knows. But I mean, prescription drugs have definitely been on the rise, and their effects, epidemically, have been on the rise across the nation. So, I mean, it's not something that wasn't trailblazed,
right.
This scenario, unfortunately. So I think that some of the conversations that have been had about it have been kind of insightful, because this isn't a brand new phenomenon.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where if you have a friend, and this is something just sort of generally to think about, any friend in life who's even remotely showing signs, or that you're worried about, like, pay attention to that. Really don't put it on the back burner if you notice somebody who might need that help but doesn't ask for it. Because oftentimes people get too scared to ask for help because they don't want to seem weak, or they're afraid that they'll be denied, or that they won't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And that can really...
Or people do ask for help and they're not taken seriously.
Yeah.
Whether maybe they've said it before, or maybe whoever's hearing it just isn't wanting to lend credence to that. But it's something not to ever ignore. Ever.
Yeah.
Like how, you go into an airport, you say the word bomb, and that's going to get attention regardless of in what context you're throwing that word around. That a self-harm or suicidality is it's something to pay attention to, because even if the intention isn't, even if there's no plan or intent means to successfully complete suicide, there's still a message in that. There's always the subtitles in somebody expressing pain, and that's worth listening to as well. So
for a while you were working with I think I got a suicide hotline, I believe. Did you drop off cards at my store a long time ago, or was that for Agora?
No, I dropped off the suicide hotline cards after, it wasn't too long after Tommy had shot himself, so like 2.5, 3 months ago.
I mean, I'm talking about like 8 years ago. Like you had dropped something when I was at the old location and we had first met back up. You had dropped some cards. They might have been Agora cards, and this was years.
I never worked with Agora.
Were you associated at all in any way?
I feel like he's gonna harm me.
Yeah, Larry's. Yeah, he's gonna prevent you from harming yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the
first dibs.
ultimate, protection against self-harm, as he shreds you up first.
Yeah.
What now? You asked me.
Were you associated with Agora at all?
I wasn't, and I can't remember.
Someone had dropped Agora cards off, and maybe it was somebody else who was also just working with them, and I just assumed it was you. But whatever the case, at that point, did you bring anything of that nature to my store?
I probably did.
I feel like as if, I had something like that from you there as just, a place to call or somebody to turn to.
I don't feel like I remember that well, but I mean, it's certainly something I would do.
Yeah, certainly. But
I love Larry.
He's really great.
He is fantastic.
He's truly the holiest.
He is.
Holier than thou. Like when people say that, they're referring to Larry.
He is very righteous.
He is pious.
He is pious. Such piety.
Yes. You remember Rick and I were obsessed with talking about pies and clowns?
Yes.
Yeah, how could you not be? If you're around during that era, like it's all we talked about.
Yeah.
Which is-
Oh, he's gonna hurt me with his clowns.
he's
I
gonna
can
try,
tell.
yeah. He's gonna try to jump on your
I
lap.
love you, Larry. You're so
Get some
scary.
love.
He actually terrifies me.
Yeah.
But I've experienced his.
His claws?
Yeah, he's totally indiscriminate. He's like, whatever, kill.
Yeah,
kill,
no,
kill.
no. Larry pulls no punches.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. So, anyway, let's read a couple of these.
So yeah, let's see. What and where did you first hear anything from Chris? I mean, when we were probably what 6th, 7th grade. You know, I know the first time I had heard it anyway was I was developing my own tastes and stuff. So it was when Super Unknown had come out, and it was Black Hole Sun on MTV.
Right. Black Hole Sun was my first big awareness of Chris Cornell, and
Mhm.
it had to do with my older brother had one of his best friends die in a motorcycle accident, and that had been his favorite song. And so I remember it associated with
Lot
the
of friends.
funeral, associated
Wow.
with, yeah. So that was my first awareness of Chris Cornell, and then Sun Shower, his independent solo single, Sun Shower,
I don't know that.
is one that that one just sort of melts me out, Larry. Biting.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, that was my first from him. Seemed like he'd been fighting demons for a while. I know that someone's art isn't always a direct reflection of what they're going through, but whatsoever I've feared has come to life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatsoever I've feared has come to life.
Fell on Black Days. That's rough.
Mhm.
Crazy, man.
The
It's-
Day I Tried to Live and The Promise. Have you heard like that? That's a newer one, but that's a really intense message as well. So,
it's
like, thank you to Chris Cornell because
Mhm.
he's been such a great contributor
a
to.
huge influence on almost everybody I know.
Yeah.
Anybody that I grew up with, especially during that era,
Yeah.
everybody was like sort of like, yeah, this is the guy. And it's tough because like out of a lot of the big ones that we were specifically growing up with, Kurt Cobain and Lane Staley and Scott Weiland,
Sure.
like there was a handful of like the major players, as it were, and now Eddie Vedder sort of seems like he's kind of the last one sort of on that plateau right now. Out of like that particular, because those were like the big bands. We still had stuff like Live, and we had things like Prime. I mean, but in terms
in
of
terms of actually like grunge.
the radio play like grunge alternative
That
rock
movement.
era.
I mean, that was a
Yeah.
huge movement
Yeah.
in just where music was going from
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah, so it's very interesting.
thank you to Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
And
for being such a huge influence on so many
definitely,
people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never go unappreciated.
So cool.
So what about you?
Okay, so let's see. Me.
Yeah, tell me about yourself.
Well, my name is Michelle,
Nice to meet you.
and I am an Aries.
What does that mean?
It means I don't know, nothing.
Nothing. Yes.
It's nothing at all.
Yeah. Okay.
It's nothing I want to talk about. So
Too embarrassed.
I told you I'm not going to fall into any of your traps tonight. I'm not going to accidentally
Yeah.
talk about something I don't want to.
Let's see.
Candlebox, yeah.
So Candlebox. Yeah. Yeah.
I love his voice too.
Yeah.
I really
And
love his voice.
what's his name from Live? Is it Art something? Like
What
that?
is his name?
I don't remember. Something Scandinavian.
My most exciting stuff this week is, I said this the last time we met, but my parents' thing coming up, I'm just so freaking stoked for their anniversary
That's
party.
right. That's the second.
Yes, I'm so excited. It's a week from tomorrow. 50 years of them together, which is just amazing. And
That's
awesome.
insane.
I think it's
50
great.
years.
50.
Wow.
Yeah, half a century together.
Wow.
So I think they might make it, I think they might do the marriage thing. Decide to keep
That's
each other.
yeah, exactly. Decide to continue forth.
Oh,
I didn't even occur to me for some reason. Kevin Martin.
Oh.
Yeah, Kevin Martin is still alive too.
hey. I think this Kevin Martin really actually is the lead singer of Candlebox.
Well, every time we've hung out with him, he starts singing Candlebox songs, so I just never put two and two together. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sound a lot like.
And then also, from a couple weeks ago, Byron had reminded me on here that his dad had agreed that he was available to talk with me about some of my project and
yeah, for your
my
project, right.
book. And
Right.
I met up with him today.
How was it?
I felt so inspired, and he actually texted me a little bit ago. He's gonna call in a little and talk to us because
Cool.
I think from his own words, he's really inspiring. And the reason that I really appreciate him, and he's such a diamond in the rough for me, is because, okay, so this book that I'm working on, which examines, just to say it briefly and sort of succinctly, in a nutshell, getting through the criminal justice system and actually getting out on the other side rehabilitated to some degree, and not getting, caught in that whirlpool of, around and around and around and around and repeat, lather, rinse, repeat. And that's a big issue in our criminal justice system, and it's something I'm extremely passionate about. And I work with a lot of people that are in the system that are doing well, doing what they need to, making it through it. But I actually, until today, I really sat down and thought about it a little while after we met too. Until today, I don't think I've met someone that, okay, I've met people that made it through the system and out on the other side, but at the level in which he was in the lifestyle and making it out on the other side, no. I've met people that, had a DWI on base, of course, and, moved on, or had some kind of white collar crime and moved on, and, that those things didn't follow them in their life in terms of relapses into old behaviors necessarily. But, Byron's dad, Rick, who we'll talk to in a minute, he, has a really extensive and deep entrenched life experience in that realm, in drugs and crime and violence and territorially motivated lifestyle. So and that's not the easiest lifestyle to actually even survive, let alone literally. He was willing to uproot his location of where he lived and move his whole family to another place. And a lot of people are not willing to do that.
Sure.
People want change, but people don't necessarily want to do a whole lot for that all the time. We all want to feel better than we feel when we're suffering. We all want to feel freer than we feel when we're feeling trapped. But sometimes what that would require, people don't want to give up the patterns that they've attached to.
Right.
And so he's inspiring to me. But
Great.
I'll read a couple more of these, and then I'm going to have him call.
Sure.
I'll call him.
Okay. It looks like a lot of it came in at once.
Oh.
Whatsoever I feared has come to life. Whatsoever I fought off became my life. Just when every day seemed to greet with a smile. Sunspots have faded, now I'm doing time. Yeah. And deep stuff. And then more about candlelocks.
Oh.
So yeah, it was sort of this continuation. A lot of it, I think, just sort of popped in later. It was just a lag delay. But,
gotcha. Lag delay. So.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't have anything specifically in mind in terms of talking to Rick and having him share a little bit with us. But
chat.
Yeah. So.
Oh, sounds good.
Rick, I'm going to call you now. I think you're watching. So.
If he's not.
Then this is going to be a surprise.
That's fair. Because there's a little bit of lag, so.
Oh,
He'll be surprised. Yeah.
He'll probably figure it out.
That's fine.
Yeah, no problem. My speakerphone doesn't actually work that well.
I think it should be fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Hey, hi, Rick.
Hi.
Can people tell us if that's audible, if that's loud enough? Rick, say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we certainly can.
We
fine.
can.
We'll see if people on the podcast can.
Yeah. How audio friendly is that working?
It's working good on this end.
Cool.
Yeah, we can all hear you.
Excellent.
Everyone's here.
So I'm doing that. Yeah.
John's doing an ad campaign while we wait for responses. Canada Dry.
Perfect.
All right, what are you guys doing?
We're just watching the podcast.
Oh,
excellent.
Going back a little bit on the drug situation. I've dealt with a lot of drugs and alcohol to hide pain as well, and not meaning to do any harm
Sure.
to myself, of course. I did end up overdosing in 2011 and was on life support for 3 months.
Wow.
So anything can happen. I always said, no, that never happened to me, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hard road back, learning to walk, talk, get up, move around, and even that, learning how to eat again. It's still a battle every day. Every day, I still fight within myself. I've done a lot of horrible things, but I deal with them, and it's a double-edged sword, like we talked about earlier, Michelle. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing because, like you said, you feel your feelings. The bad part of it is you feel your feelings.
Yeah, getting clean. Sure. Feelings come back. Woohoo!
Yeah.
But feelings come back, which is also the pain. So
Sure.
The pain comes back too. But so Rick, say a little bit about how the age you were when you first started using and how that unfolded in your life.
I was 9 years old.
Oh wow.
Born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Given a beer by my sister, and they would get a kick out of it, watching me drink, wobble around at 9, and then started with pot, about 11 years old. And from there, it just kept getting worse. There's not a street drug out there that I haven't done. Nothing I'm proud of, but that was life for me. It was everyday violence on the street, at the house, with my family. It's just, I didn't know that there was anywhere outside of my neighborhood. I did not know that until my dad one summer sent me and my brother to drive my mom to Las Cruces, New Mexico. And then it dawned on me, holy shit, I can get out of here. Before that, I thought it was just my neighborhood and everybody we were fighting against. That's how ignorant, naive, whatever you want to call it, I was. But that was my life. And started going to jail, as a teenager, and went in and out. Total, I'm going to be 48 now. I've spent a total of 12 to 15 years behind bars, in and out. And finally decided I had enough. I got out, met my wife, had my son and my daughter, and refused to go back. I wanted a better life for them.
We had a question just now, Kevin. Yeah, this is Byron's dad. I might not have introduced that well. This is Byron's dad.
We've been chatting about all kinds of stuff. But
yeah. So.
Yeah, if anybody wants to ask questions, so if Rick, if you're watching the podcast, off to the side, you should see the question bar, and questions might pop up, or we can ask the questions there to you directly if you'd like. Okay.
Yeah, if people have curiosities and they want to ask you questions, we're gonna see if you're willing to do that.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. Okay.
John, I want to know though from you. I mean, just listening to really quickly what Rick was just telling us in that few minutes.
Yeah.
What comes up for you in terms of curiosity?
Curiosity is, so you start this road and you go for years and years, and like you said, you're in and out for 12, 15 years, and then you said you decided you had enough. How hard was it to make the decision to just to change it all? What did that entail for you? What was the point at which you said, I'm going to stop, and how did you yourself manage to do that?
It was very difficult.
I can imagine.
I'm leaving behind everything that I know, everything that I'm familiar with, and I just the 3-strike law had come out in California, and I knew that I was headed for life. I only needed one more strike, and that motivated me to get the hell out of there, one way or another. And that's exactly what I did.
Evan says, nice to meet you, Byron's dad.
Oh. Yeah, so Byron can actually help sort of prompt any of these questions as they come. We'll do it that way. Perfect.
Okay.
So in terms, I mean, so you left everything behind, but I mean, how hard was it, especially, I mean, like with the drug lifestyle and the alcohol lifestyle, you know, did you sort of taper yourself off from it slowly? Did you, I mean, go as cold turkey as you could? Like, what was the process like to drop that? Because I mean, addiction is a very big thing.
Well, and what's it like for you now? I know that it hasn't been always staying clean and sober.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have definitely, I didn't taper off. And I actually started using more. Being away, I lost my security. I, in a way, kind of lost my identity from being away and starting out in a new place. And I have had relapses, and I'm just taking it one day at a time.
That's great. Best you can do.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about earlier was what you just said right there, the identity crisis, like having to really look at yourself through different eyes, through new eyes, because like you had mentioned about growing up in your neighborhood, our world, our universe is only as big as we're exposed to other things even existing. And I mean, I find what's so inspiring to me about you and about anybody that makes this decision to go forward from where you've been is that identity shift that a person's willing to do. It just, it amazes me, and it doesn't cease to, you know, just awe me, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't think it's something we've talked about, how, you know, your identity having to shift that away from relationship codependencies and stuff like that. And I mean, that's tough. And then this is literally, you know, taking that identity away from relationship stuff, family, lifestyle, ways of making money, ways of dealing with, you know, absolutely every arena of life. And this is an identity shift in more arenas than you or I have ever had to
been part of.
Yeah, which is amazing. Which is amazing to me. So I just want to, first of all, I guess, say thank you for opening up about that and sharing it with me, because I know that it's possible, and I don't meet people often that are proof. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's 21 years now. Not even so much as a parking ticket.
Oh, right on.
I haven't been in any trouble.
Excellent.
I was telling Michelle earlier, I have to be the luckiest son bitch on earth. Come so close to death. My family has told me time and time from the time I was 16 I wasn't going to live. I was 18, I wasn't going to make my 18th birthday. When I was 21, I would be dead. You know, I've heard it all, and I'm still here. And thank God.
Yeah, absolutely, right? That's incredible.
When you overdosed and you were having to learn to, you know, walk and relearn every basic function, how I mean, I get what mentally, what do you remember about that time, thinking, feeling?
You know, I think it's kind of a blessing, because I don't remember much of anything other than when I got home, I fell off the bed, and I'm yelling for my wife to get me up because my legs weren't functioning. I was in a wheelchair. And she said no. So I called her every name in the book. Get me up, get me up. She said no. She says, try to get yourself halfway up, and I will help you the rest of the way. Had she not done that, I don't think I ever would have got out of that wheelchair. Because after that, I knew that I had to work to get myself back to where I was, or as close to where I was.
Well, me and Mom talk more about that time. high school. I was in sophomore year. Yeah, and that happened over. Yeah, it was Christmas break, so that was the first Christmas I ever had without my dad present, and that is my dad's absolute favorite holiday. Even when he was still having trouble walking, he was still trying to climb ladders and put lights up. It was ridiculous, and I remember everyone was at the hospital 24/7 staying with him, and I personally could not bring myself to stay around him like that. It was, yeah, I couldn't do it, but my mom and my sister were there every single day, and it was really amazing to me that, I went maybe twice, and it was heart-wrenching to see him like that, and I just remember when he finally got home, and as he started walking and, learning to work his body again, it was amazing. It's just amazing to see that kind of progress out of someone who, a month ago couldn't even move their toes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that this affected you. I mean, you weren't like a young kid when a lot of this is going down. So, how was it in your experience to, sort of see this situation, improve,
Yeah, it definitely is. I know it was probably one of the hardest times of my life, just because, the holidays have always been big in my family, especially Christmas. Like, the biggest one has always been Christmas, and just that without my dad was heartbreaking. Oh. Do you want to say anything more?
No, you're saying it.
Okay.
I'm not nervous. I'll start then.
What's that?
I asked my mom wanted to say anything. She said she's too nervous. She'll start crying.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, hi. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, I got to sit down with all three of them for a while today, and hear from all of them and listen to them interrupt each other and tell their versions of things. And I mean, it was one thing I told them too was that when I walked in the house, one of the things that I felt instantaneously was like a genuine happiness. Like, I walked in and I could feel like joy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Energetically. And that's not everywhere for sure. And I find that really amazing too. And I wonder, some of the traumas and some of the losses that you've had, if that's contributed to your ability to feel joy, happiness, appreciation, to value things that matter and not sweat the small stuff. I mean, did that contribute for you?
Absolutely. The loss of my son really made me stop to look at things. And then I reconnected with one of my older sisters that I hadn't spoke to in 12 years, I think, before that. And I reconnected with her. And about 4 months after that, she passed from a drug overdose. And
A while after that.
so it definitely made me try to leave the small stuff alone, and just focus on the bigger picture and making sure that these guys had everything they needed from me.
Are you willing to share how you lost your son?
Excuse me?
Are you willing to share how you lost your son?
Oh, absolutely. It was 2007, 10 years now, almost, coming up. And he went to a party, and because he's seen how we all grew up and how his dad was, my brothers, his cousins, everybody that grew up and still in California. He went to a party. He had a beef with some kid. They pulled out guns. My son did not fire his weapon, and he paid the ultimate price. He got shot, and they unloaded on him and drug him to the alley and left them there to die.
No. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So after that, you reconnected with your sister and she passed, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay. There are a couple of questions up here, but I wanted to ask you before I get to those. Those are two gigantic, significant losses, and those aren't the only ones either that you've had. Losing to substances or losing to violence, that's something you've had repeated in your life over and over. No?
Correct. Most of the people that I grew up with now are either doing life or they're dead. I can count the number of people on one hand that are still around, other than my family members that I grew up with.
No.
Yeah. All right, let's read Kevin. Kevin had a couple.
Yeah, and Kevin's got a good question. Asking, did your struggle with addiction affect the way you approach relationships?
I like that.
Would you say that having a problem with addiction affected the way you forged relationships? I mean, it seems very sensible that it would be sort of a barrier to things, but I mean, in terms of your experience, how did you notice that the addiction ended up affecting relationships with people and even getting new relationships?
It definitely affected them.
Sure.
You're always searching for that next high to cover up the pain. But not only that, growing up the way I did, you learn not to trust people. And that was something that was really hard for me to learn, was trust. And people that would genuinely love me, which is something I did not have growing up. A pat on the back, you did a good job today, son, or anything like that. So, yeah, definitely it affects relationships, and it affected how I looked at other people. And the only people I did want to be around was the people that had the dope.
Right.
And let's Byron, do you mind saying some about that? What it's been like for you and your relationship with your dad as he's had that addiction history?
No, it's I mean, ever since I was young enough to understand what addiction was, I knew my dad was an addict, even when he wasn't using. But you first got sober in 2011, right? That was the first time you got like fully sober, right? Yeah. Yeah. So he was using most of my life, and it never like actively negatively affected my relationship, but the aspects of it were there. He used to get a lot angrier than he does now. Not ever to the point of like abusive, but like really rough. But since 2011, the first time he got clean, he's relapsed quite a few times, honestly, and the relapse tend to be a lot worse than when he was like a constant user, just because, like, as he's told me like 20 times, anytime you relapse, you try to pick back up where you left off, and you just don't have that kind of tolerance to it anymore. So that's when things would get really bad, and that's when, like, say my parents would fight and I would have to leave the house for a while.
Okay. Dang.
Kevin went on to talk about, I have an addiction to junk food. Not to say it's the same as a drug addiction, but I find that I become somewhat codependent as a result. Have you ever encountered that codependence?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I sure have. I was never I'm kind of going through the same thing, and it's with soda pop right now for me. I was never a soda pop drinker or a sweets person. I didn't like candy, nothing like that. but it seems like I went from dope to Coca-Cola and Pepsi because I have to have it all the damn time now. And that's all my wife drinks. She doesn't drink water. She doesn't drink coffee. She doesn't drink tea. She just drinks soda pop. So it's me, it's coffee in the morning, and soda pop the rest of the day. And I was never like that before.
The term that's coming to my mind for that is cross addiction, when we will replace one with another or take one habit and try to alter it by using this other thing instead, or that sort of thing. And I think what Kevin, like, correct me if this isn't what you mean, but when you say codependence, are you talking about how it's affected your relationships? Addiction affecting your relationships? That's a question for Kevin, just to clarify what he's meaning by that.
And Kellen actually joined us this evening as well too, so he's here.
Hi.
Being the two of us. We actually have Byron and his family sort of in on the phone, and we're discussing kind of an incredible situation. Basically, the result of a recovering addict, and a lot of questions are open game right now. If you have any questions about, what it's like, being in and out of the system, being in and out of drug abuse. And Rick has been very gracious to answer a lot of questions for us. And if there's anything you can think of this evening to ask, by all means,
Yeah, people are welcome to ask
absolutely
curiosities that they have.
Sure.
You don't want to talk about that? No, I'm open to answer any questions about anything anybody has.
Rick, I didn't ask you this earlier, but I'm curious. Do you see yourself in your self-identity? Do you see yourself as a criminal?
That's a tough question. Yeah, I guess, being in therapy, they have been putting to me, Rick, you're a good man. When you look in the mirror, think about where you've come from and how far you've come. But at the same time, I still have to keep that persona, especially as bad as things are getting out here in Albuquerque, and so that people know that I'm not the one to walk up to and mess with, because you're gonna get something that you can't even imagine. But at the same time, I want to continue to be the law-abiding, regular Joe, not getting no trouble, and so it's kind of hard. Sometimes, I know who I am. I am a criminal. I am a felon. I'm a convict. But most importantly, I'm a husband. I'm a father, and I'm a good friend.
Absolutely. That's at the forefront of all of it.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, it's become a real problem. Okay, so Kevin goes on to talk to, huh?
I just want to tell you, I married him for his looks, not his money.
That's Rick's wife, Emily, assuring us that she's not a gold digger.
Right.
Social Security. Because that's gold right there.
That's right.
The monthly Social Security check.
I'm on Social Security, so that's an ongoing joke in my family. And I tell her, you married me for my money, I know it.
Okay, so Kevin went on to talk some about his struggles, and it's become a real problem talking about food addiction. If I don't have money for food or something, I find myself asking my ex to buy me McDonald's a lot or something like that. That's where I see the codependency. Oh, okay. So
in terms of junk food
addiction? In terms of having, choosing to, utilize avenues and people to help you feed your whatever it is that you are addicting to. So Rick, for you, does that ring a bell, like choosing people distinctly because they would help you continue to use?
Oh, absolutely. I've begged, borrowed, stole, lied, cheated, scammed, whatever it took. I know exactly what he's saying. I mean, I would promise people the world, you know, hey, let me borrow $20, I'll pay you back next week, or, you know, I got this coming up or that. I've done it all. I've done it all. Nothing I'm proud of, but it was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what strikes me, Kevin, about that, you didn't say this exactly, but what strikes me about that is it has an element, as I read it, that sort of says the ways that we put our addiction before our relationships, the ways that we that's a priority, and that takes the front burner above other things that are going on, above relationships, and that we have the ability to become enslaved to something, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whether it's gold digging, rich men,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. That kind of goes through my mind with that too. Rick, also, one thing that had me super excited to hear you talk about earlier and intrigued was when you were talking about people and their response to you when they see your tattoos, when they see your appearance, when they hear your your vocal patterns and whatever. And can you tell us some about that, how people have responded to you?
Most people avoid me like the plague. Now, we were just painted the trim of our house, and the people, and I had hair at the time, and it was combed and everything. Almost all the tattoos are like gang style. And the people, I live in a pretty decent neighborhood, mostly white folks, and they came up and they were thanking us the very next morning how wonderful the house was looking, and thanks for getting rid of those ugly colors. Well, a couple weeks ago, we shaved my head. It's summertime. It's something I do every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And now the same people that were praising us come up close to the house and they cross the street.
Interesting.
And it cracks me up. And my wife and I will sit out there and I tell them, I didn't mug you the other day when you were standing on my porch praising us. I'm not going to mug you today because I got my hair. But that's normally the reaction I get. People look at me and they'll cross the street or they'll change direction in the aisle at Walmart. You know, it's like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just a normal guy just like everybody else. I may look different, but I swear I'm a nice guy.
Maybe they think you're going to mug them for their hair. Yes.
Could be.
Right.
Oh, shoot. Awesome.
Logical.
Well, that's what I thought when I walked into their house. I was like, oh no, I better put my hair up.
Yeah, exactly. This dude's going to want this.
But I escaped with my hair. As you can
Okay,
see.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I made it.
It's interesting what people's perceptions can be based off of something so simple, so, minute.
Yeah.
Where the judgment comes from. This characteristic might not define it, but this one characteristic on top of it, even if completely unrelated, can change somebody's entire perception.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at you today, Rick, I mean, I'm sitting here next to John, who's covered in tattoos,
mm-hmm.
and he gets different responses than you get just out in the world. And I also believe that some of that has to do with, where we've been in our life, things that we've gone through. We also sort of carry that energy with us as well. I don't think it's 100% solely appearance. Obviously that has an effect definitely on how people perceive us, but also, there's a way you carry yourself. And like you said earlier, there are parts of that identity that you had to use for survival, that you had to use for various reasons, that you still have to sometimes. And I don't know if that's discardable totally. I mean, what's your take on that?
It's like that guy you met who like knew what you've been through just by looking at you. Remember him? Yeah. There was and I agree with you. I do carry myself straight up. I walk with my head up. We spoke about earlier, I don't ask for respect from all these little knuckleheads. I demand it. I've earned it. And they're going to give it to me. And it's definitely, I carry myself with pride. And we were at the grocery store, I believe it was last Christmas, and there was something my wife wanted, and this guy, or it was a waffle iron or something, and another guy walked in. He beat me to the waffle iron, but when he turned around and he looked at me, and he seen the 2 teardrops on my face, he had 1 teardrop. He grabbed that waffle iron, took it out of his basket, and put it in mine. Now, he did that because he knows what the pecking order is. But what he doesn't know is what my teardrops are for. Everybody assumes they're for murders that were committed. And that's exactly what he did. That is not what my teardrops are for. One is for my son. The other is for my sister. So, needless to say, I gave him back the waffle iron. Told him, it's all right, buddy. I'll come back, and they have them back in stock. I'll get it. And he insisted. He kept putting it in. No. You take it. Take it for your wife. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But, it's like that everywhere I go. Either they respect me in a way somewhere similar to that, or they just avoid me altogether. I gotta ask you, like you've been in quote unquote war, military or otherwise, remember? Oh yes, Michael, who was a Marine who served, and his grandparents. My parents lived next door to his grandparents, and they passed away. The grandma first, and the grandfather passed exactly a month to the day afterwards. And we were at the funeral. We were out there drinking, and he pulled me to the side and took me outside. He said, "Rick," I said, "Yes," and he says, "I can see it in your eyes. You and I have fought many a battles." He said, "Only mine was for my country, and yours was for a street sign." I said, "You're absolutely right, Mike." I said, "But that's all I knew. That's all I knew at that time was my street corner." And it never dawned on me till later, and people have told me that time and time again. You fought many of wars, Rick. You just fought them for the wrong reason. And now I can agree with them. That street corner didn't belong to me. Them streets didn't. Them houses didn't. But that's all I knew.
All right, Kevin says here, Rick, I used to be a corrections officer, and in that time I learned a lot about people. You're not a criminal, man. You're not the sum of your mistakes. It's what's in your heart that matters. Prison is filled with good people who were born into bad situations. You deserve the same happiness as anyone else. Thank you for opening up.
Maybe all teary.
Yeah. My last question that I asked Rick before I left their house today was, are you happy?
Mm-hmm.
Rick, are you happy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you very much for that, Kevin.
Yeah, really.
Thank you. I really appreciate those words.
Yeah.
That's a really nice thing to say.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
It is. I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Fully convicted in that belief.
Yeah.
That absolutely.
It's a nice fact.
Yeah.
Nice truth. for sure. So is there anything, you know, Rick or Byron or Emily, that you want to share with us that we haven't asked you? Anything that is just on your mind or on the tip of your tongue?
Yes, about the PTSD.
Yes.
My mom don't understand PTSD. Now, my brother, that it's just me and him, and I haven't seen him in about 10 years. He served 8 terms from Desert Storm to this last one we had. He's a Navy SEAL. He's a Navy SEAL. Now he's an alcoholic, but my mom don't want to admit to it. He just got married. He went through 3 marriages. His second marriage, he was a corpsman in the Navy. And he had come home, they were drinking, and she started fighting with him. And he said, leave me alone. So he went to his garage to mess with his motorcycle, and she went down there and messed with him while he tied her to the chair and duct taped her mouth shut and left her there for 3 hours. And I told my mom, you're lucky he did not kill her, and that's PTSD. He don't have PTSD. He don't have PTSD. I said, I know what it is because I've seen it in Rick and I've seen it in Byron. Byron has it, but he takes it out in boxing.
I was never diagnosed.
Byron don't want to be diagnosed, but he has PTSD.
Diagnosed. Don't do that.
But that's what I wanted to ask.
So for you, what's it like for you to live with Rick and his PTSD?
It's difficult sometimes, but I've learned instead of aggravating him, because I poke at him, like Byron says, and that's where
I had to teach you that.
where we split up, and that's where Byron would spend a lot of times with his friends and live with his friends. And we had one big fight where he went and lived with one of his ex-abusive girlfriends that we didn't know. And now I just learned to. I know, but I didn't know she was abusive. But anyways, I just learned to let him have his moments. And then if he wants to talk to me about it, he will. If not, then I just leave it alone. If not, then it just turns into a big thing. And we've been together 21 years, and it ain't worth it. I'm just there to support him the best way I can. And Byron helps me understand his dad.
Yeah, I thought it was really profound earlier too when, I mean, all of you were echoing it, but Rick, you had said that one of the fears that you live with is that you will hurt one of your family members. Is that those experiences and those traumatic experiences will take over at some point and could hurt someone around you.
Absolutely. The further along I get with my illness, that is one of my biggest fears. I do have dementia and Parkinson's, along with a long list of other health issues. And like I said, the further along I get, after watching Emily's grandmother, who was the sweetest lady in the world, I kid you not, slap and punch and kick and swear like a sailor when she'd never spoken a swear word the whole time I knew her. That is my biggest fear. Am I going to get to that point and everything's going to come out that I've done, and that it's a huge fear for me.
Byron, what can you say about your dad's PTSD? Like all 3 of you today were talking about how you're really you're the PTSD whisperer. Like you have the ability to really calm that down. Like what can you say about that?
I mean, like I was telling you earlier today, just like throughout my entire life, I've been surrounded with mental illness. I have, my own. I have friends, ex-girlfriends, and obviously family who have it. And just, I've learned, like, through people who both have a grasp on their mental illness and those who don't, as well as struggling with my own on how to handle it and talk people, out of their episodes and whatnot. And my connection with my dad has definitely helped that a lot. I've seen other cases of PTSD. Not to name names, but one of my ex-girlfriends had been sexually assaulted earlier in her life, and I had been hit over the head in flashbacks, and things like that definitely helped me better to understand these illnesses.
Mhm.
And it's just like I told you earlier, Michelle, like if you wake my dad up out of a dead sleep, he is liable to swing at you. It's, you know, just something that's kind of given, and you just kind of got to ground them in most cases in what's, you know, around them, and you just got to be very calm and slow. You can't, you know, get worked up with them, or else nothing will get solved.
Oh my gosh, Larry.
He's knocking things over.
He's knocking things over.
That's fine.
What else? What do you have? What else?
I'm really mostly just sort of absorbing a lot of this. I'm trying to think of questions really, but I mean a lot of the observations are.
I want you to meet Rick.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Like he's
We're going to go to movie night tomorrow, John.
Perfect.
he's a hell of a force in the room. You can feel it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Special guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll all be really careful.
Right.
I'll be security for your store too.
That'd be great.
For free.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It needs it. There've been some. I saw on Facebook you had a break in next door.
Next door, I think someone tried to get in the way that they had back in February.
Yeah.
But there's a new alarm there, motion sensing and everything, and it's the loudest thing I've ever heard, by the way. And so as soon as somebody hears that 3:20 in the morning, like it's not going to go unnoticed, and you also don't want to be there because it's deafening. It's terrible. And so yeah, I think somebody had the idea to try to get next door, but they couldn't do it. So
Kevin asked if we've seen the room. Have you seen the room, Dad? No. I've seen the room, and I'm just going to tell you, it's an amazing movie.
that's really all you can say about that movie.
Yeah, you will not be prepared for it no matter what I tell you.
That's also true, actually. Have you seen the room? Jesus.
No, it's a movie.
It's something.
It's definitely a movie.
Okay, you're gonna sit next to Dad.
Okay. Kevin, it is very difficult for me to go to the theaters and watch movies because of all the people. I have to sit with my back on the furthest row back so that I can see everybody coming and going. It's something that you learn in prison. We went to watch a movie, myself, my wife, and my daughter, and that movie, Don't Breathe. And when they started shooting in that movie, I had to leave. And they took me to Walmart and walked me around for an hour and a half to calm me down.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a really hard thing, that kind of PTSD. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like.
Yeah, and he always wants surround sound for his war movies.
That's sort of like, how do you figure that out?
That's because I'm home and I'm safe.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, contained environment. Yeah, I get you.
And something I want to add on that, it's like, I wanted to say this earlier when you were here, Michelle, but I just never got the opportunity to bring it up. I'm like in this weird, unique position. Like I'm halfway between where my dad is and where the average person is. Because, you know, I was raised in poverty. I was raised around all these same things that my dad was, though I never, you know, got into them. Thank God I was smart. I was too smart for that. And at the same time, I'm also I'm like the bridge between that sort of life and the quote unquote normal sort of life. And it's like I've picked up a lot of my dad's paranoia just from being around him and the kind of things he taught me when I was little, when he was still really bad. Like I I don't like people standing behind me. I get really tense and aware in large areas, which is ironic because I go to the mall a lot. But what I was living with this girl that I was dating once, and we never slept at decent hours. We'd go out late at night. But anytime we would go to the gas station for something, I would never let her go in alone, even if we were in the safest part of town. I'd never been near, around, or even seen a gas station robbery. I just knew that it wasn't safe, even though I've had no personal experience to, base that in. I just picked that up from being around him.
Mm.
I wanted to ask, Rick, what would you, what would you impart to somebody that is, living in an addiction lifestyle, in a, criminal lifestyle? What would you want to say to somebody?
I would like to show them that there is a way out. There is brighter days ahead. Nothing worth having comes easy. It's going to be a lot of work. And I would be there to support whomever, how many ever I could, and help them get on the right path. I was a business owner, believe it or not. I had my own company doing windows and doors. I had Home Depot contract. I had a shop here, one in Las Cruces, and one in El Paso, Texas. And when my son passed away, of course, I couldn't function for a while, and I had to shut it down. And when I got ready to go back to work, nobody would give me any contracts because they were afraid that I was going to freak out on a customer or something. I just might snap.
Mm.
It was a big thing to come back from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I ended up getting Social Security. But helping addicts is they have to be as tired as I was, and they have to be willing to put in the work, and it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done. There's always brighter days ahead.
Mm.
Always.
That's great to hear. And Kevin says something fantastic, but he asked a question. Byron, do you think that just being your father's son has helped his anxiety? Because actually, Rick, answer this too. I know that when I'm upset, having my son close is sometimes the only thing that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Just because me and my dad have always had a really close and open relationship with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously, as a kid, I've lied a lot. I've tried to put a lot past my parents, but I've never tried to put anything significant past my dad. I've never tried to lie to him about anything serious.
Mm-hmm.
I've always come clean with him about anything that honestly mattered.
Right.
And just that kind of open and honest and close relationship that he and I have always had, I feel definitely helps, especially when, I'm coming over at 3 a.m. to talk him out of an episode or something.
Sure.
Do you want to?
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, I was telling Michelle earlier, if I could, I would have Byron sitting here on the couch with me every day, all day long.
Yeah.
I really would, but he's a grown man, and he's got to make his way in the world, and as much as that kills me, I got to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally realized that, and now I'm going through it with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She just graduated, and she's going to be starting college. And I told her the same thing. I've been to school with you, the first day of school, with both of you, every year since you started. This will be the first time I do not go with you to your first day at college. But if you see me on campus, don't be surprised. I want people to know that I'm your dad.
There you go.
But yeah, if I could have Byron around me all the time, I definitely would.
Sure.
But I know he's got to make his life in his way.
Mm-hmm.
I loved what you said earlier about how you can look at your kids and see you obviously did right. You obviously did well because they're both strong and resilient and smart and capable.
Absolutely. I am so proud of them. Neither one of them are alcoholics. Neither one of them are drug addicts. Neither one of them have criminal records. Byron doesn't have any girls pregnant. My daughter's not pregnant. And I think me and their mom did a hell of a job. And I'm just so proud. That's my driving force. And I tell my daughter and I tell my son that the illnesses aren't going to get me until I get to play with my grandchildren for a little while. I get to walk my daughter down the aisle. And then after that, if God chooses to take me, I won't fight that hard.
Mm.
But until then, I'm going to fight like hell.
Well, let's
You died
take.
once. How many more times can you die? Yeah, 4 times?
Yeah, I've actually died 4 times. Clinically dead.
Wow.
All due to drugs.
You win.
Yeah, I'm at 0. Yeah, 4-0. Yeah. Yeah.
We're way behind.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are.
I want to invite people if last questions, last thoughts, or anything like that. Oh, okay.
Something in Messenger.
Do you have your phone?
Yes.
Cool.
Let's see. Check this real quick. Oh, it's a picture of Kevin's son passed out playing Mario Kart.
Oh,
It's adorable.
this. Do you want a picture of Kevin's anti-anxiety
Yeah.
med? His
Yeah.
son.
Yeah. And if I can show this, I mean, I'll definitely pop it on screen real quick.
Yeah.
It's that's pretty great. But yeah, Kevin's anti-drug. You know, those old commercials and stuff. His anti-anxiety is his kid right here. It's a picture of his kid
Mhm.
passed out on the couch playing Mario Kart so hard. Oh, Larry.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna move some stuff. My cat's knocking things over.
Well,
But yeah, that's there we go. That's a
better
pretty
than
great
Xanax.
picture.
Works better than
Yeah.
Xanax. I would like to, Kevin, Emily, not Kevin, sorry, Byron, Emily, Rick, I would like to, have you guys back on again in the future if it's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things we talked about tonight, I mean, we could just go in more and more and more depth about all of it, but it's all of it is so inspirational and so eye-opening, and I think it's vital that we start discussing, like I said to you earlier, not just the post-traumatic stress disorder, but the post-traumatic strengths and what we see build in a person's life and what capabilities and strengths we see happen in families when this has been overcome. And I want to say to you as well, in regards to your son and your daughter, Rick, breaking that cycle, that's such a common thing people talk about. How do you break the cycle? How do you get that cycle in a family to end? And you figured it out. I mean, you don't see that every day. So I want to say to you, like, thank you. And, cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's remarkable to
Thank
see.
you for that.
Yeah. like the successful end of this. It's a
Yeah.
very powerful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And it's not even over. I mean,
Yeah.
you still have, grandkids and weddings and things.
Yeah. There's more to come.
Yeah, more to
You
come.
know, the light gets brighter.
Yeah.
I know you guys said you wanted to take the podcast on the road. You can bring it here. There's a lot of room.
We could do that.
Yeah, you have my
Yeah.
laptop.
That's true. We could do that.
Just bring the laptop.
That'd be cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we can all see Rick's shaved head.
Right, exactly.
I even saw some of my tattoos for you.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
You guys should have a tattoo contest.
Oh man, he's gonna beat me.
You know what I would like to do? I would like to get a marker and draw teardrops on my face, and
Bald wig.
yeah, I would like us to get as terrifying as we possibly can look.
Cosplay my dad.
Okay, cosplay your dad.
That's a good one. All right. Well, what do you think? Should we go ahead and get off the telefono?
Yeah, I think we're getting ready to wrap up here pretty soon. But I mean, this is fantastic. This is something, we've done sort of like a call-in kind of thing before with a friend, someone's back and talked about some stuff. But in terms of like really hearing sort of like a testimonial,
Yeah.
this is incredible, and getting people the chance to ask some questions and really discuss, like the nitty gritty. And for you to be, in such great spirits about it, knowing where you are now and knowing where you had to come from to get there, I think is a really powerful sentiment. And it's very encouraging for people, I think, to hear that it can get better.
Mhm.
There's always a way for it to get better. And to hear it directly from you, I think is an incredibly powerful thing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And anybody that ever needs to talk or wants to ask questions, Michelle, feel free to give my number,
Okay.
and I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody at any time.
Yeah, I definitely plan to use you as a resource. I know a lot of people that could hear it and benefit.
Yeah, I think so. This is one that I'm going to be reposting and like telling people,
Oh,
like, really,
definitely.
please
Yeah.
watch this. If you're going to watch one of our podcasts, really check this one out.
Yeah, if there's any topic, if there's any subject that gets me emotional, keeps me up at night, makes me write a book, it's this.
Yeah, and
It's
for
this.
anybody who doesn't know, the origin of how this even came to be,
Yeah.
I think it'd be really
How
great
we
for you
started
to,
doing the Blue Lady podcast. Is that what you're talking
well,
about?
like the conversation with Rick. I mean, the Blue Lady podcast is one thing too. Yeah, let's use
Oh.
that again.
Yeah.
But even how the situation with you contacting Rick came to be because of your personal endeavor.
Yes.
That's come through.
Yes. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I've shared on the Blue Lady podcast that it's a project that I'm working on, this book that I've shared about. And Byron was gracious enough to offer your time and to offer, your influence. And so that was through this venue that
Yes.
that happened. And
Mhm.
I know already it's going to definitely cascade benefit, because I know people that should hear from you, and we want to do this again, and maybe come to your house and talk more about stuff, and this needs to get out there in the world. I
Mhm.
believe that. And you're the one with the street credentials. You're the one that can tell us what are the most important things to know, and what are the most important advices and supports and
Mhm.
encouragements that we can give to people
Mhm.
as they're walking through similar journeys.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I'll definitely get a hold of you guys soon, and we're gonna plan a time to come to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Well,
All right.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Byron. Thank you, Emily. We'll
Absolutely.
talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good night.
See you tomorrow, John.
Indeed.
Bye.
See you there.
Bye.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's like, and I was almost sort of at like a loss of words the entire time, with less questions and more just sort of listening to somebody who's been there, who's come out through the other side. And what are you gonna say?
Well, like I was saying earlier, and sort of inarticulately, the extent, and he might share with us more openly in the future, or more in depth as we have more time, some of the details of what his life was like and what his, what his work was like, what his neighborhood was like, and his role in that, and the depth of the substances involved, and the depth of the violence and control and fear, and these things that to be that entrenched, and to and to have that rank, because like he said, the pecking order, I mean, he wasn't like just a soldier, like he was, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to have that rank, and to still make every change necessary to come out on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
willing to, like Byron said, I mean, they grew up with not a lot of money, willing to alter that lifestyle and alter everything. It's not something you hear every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen to person after person after person on a daily basis, or mostly daily, some on a regular basis anyway, say to me, I'm willing to do anything. But if you look at actions and words and whether or not they match, Rick is one of the few people I've met that actually lines up those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my definition of integrity. I've talked about that before, to say and do things that are in the same line and that are not fractured, that go opposite directions. And everybody wants to be free, and everybody wants to be happy, and everybody wants to feel good, but who's actually willing to do what that's going to take? Not everybody is.
Right.
And that's why this man for me is, such a gift to be able to talk to.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You hit gold by giving an example of somebody who's.
I'm a gold digger.
Well, you are,
Yeah.
IRL. But yeah. In this particular circumstance, I mean, you found one of the best people to talk to, and I'm very fortunate that friendship with Byron has led to him watching the show, and for this to come up, because I mean, what better match for your book than to get this is like showcase example, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man.
Well, and Byron,
I haven't even met.
Right, you'll dig him. And Byron and Emily, they have another side of it too that should be explored, which is, what's it like to live with someone that has made that transition, or is making that transition, or is still experiencing the after effects, in the wake of damage that's happened. What's that like for the family members, and what does that entail, and what maybe is required, and that's also something that's worth talking about, and they have voices to lend to that. They've got the credentials for that.
Mm-hmm,
so yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway, thank you, because I wanted, that's my career. That's what I care about. That's what I want.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to spend, my life working to influence, is how people understand the system, addiction, being able to look at people not as a number, not as their jacket, but really look.
So Kellen messaged me, because he's going to contact us next time we do this about some important stuff, but he said, tell Michelle that she absolutely nailed it tonight, because he said, I get the feeling this podcast is structured around you, and you nailed it. Because this is your calling. This is very much focused on getting a glimpse into your interaction, your understanding, and the way that you find people who have been troubled and are coming out of the system or going into the system.
Yes.
And continuing to love them and show love and exhibit love and really dissect their situation without the judgment that the world readily will spread. And to look at them and say, you are just as human as anybody else. You might even be more loving than anybody I've ever met.
I've met a lot of people. I've met a lot of people in the system that have a shit ton more integrity than the people running the system. For sure, and we can get into that another time too. But thank you, Kellen, because yes, it is, and I hope it is noticeable and visible. It's, this is my North Star. So and also I'll just share next week, next Wednesday, I'm sitting, and I'll talk about it next Thursday. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm sitting on a panel with the Federal Probation Office here in New Mexico. I'm sitting on a couple of panels because they want to ask some mental health specialists, about their role working with people, because, some probation officers have great intentions and some of them don't. And some of them have a wonderful ability to connect with people and some don't. And so I'm going to take time on Wednesday and really sit down with, a number of people that are running this system as people get out of prison, running these situations and these collaborations, and let them pick my brain and impart what I can. So hopefully the start of a long and beautiful transformation. I mean, it's got to start. It has to start.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah, I think a lot of people have sort of wondered what the fundamentals of what you do are, and this has been the closest look.
Yeah.
We've had this opportunity to share and directly.
Yeah, this is more raw for me because I'm a therapist and I talk about that. But more so than that, because therapy is just the avenue or the arena that I took to get to what I really am, and which is, this is my job. Yeah. This is
so what you would do.
Yeah, this is what I would do if money doesn't exist. This is what I do without money existing. Who knows if the book will do anything, and I decreased my workload to focus on this more, and without money existing in the world, this is still what matters to me.
This is where you are. Yeah.
And I want to say thank you to everybody for listening and contributing, because
this is an important one.
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate you guys all, joining us this evening and watching and listening and asking questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back next week, right before your parents' anniversary.
Yes, and right after that panel, and
yep.
Maybe we'll see
what it goes. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys next week, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
We love you.
Love you very much. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good.